Well, more than $1 million worth of drugs seized by state investigators, but that's not the only crime here. This drug bust is also allegedly linked to the murder of a former Baltimore basketball star. WJZ is live tonight. Annie Rose Ramos with the indictment of 19 people, including a Baltimore rapper. Annie Rose.
Well, Nicole, this is what over $1 million worth of drugs looks like, seized by authorities during their investigation into a Baltimore-based drug gang run by rapper Lorax.
We recovered nearly 9 kilos of fentanyl. That's about 20 pounds.
An investigation leading authorities to stash houses in Baltimore, where they found guns, heroin, and 9 kilos of fentanyl.
And 9 kilos, it could cause the overdose deaths of 4 million people.
Maryland's Attorney General announcing Thursday the indictments of 19 alleged gang members
who were involved in a drug trafficking organization,
starting with their accused leader.
The leader was a man named Xavier Johnson.
Xavier Johnson, a rapper known as Lorax.
Johnson would direct members to rent apartments that served as the enterprise's drug stash locations.
The indictment also connects Lorax to the 2019 murder of Gerald Brown, a former basketball star from Baltimore. His murder is still unsolved.
Mr. Johnson directed Mr. Brown to rent apartment for the use of the enterprise.
The indictment charges Johnson with
drug kingpin and with managing a criminal gang.
After a month-long investigation,
identified and then charged an entire network of individuals we believe were supplying hundreds of people in the Baltimore region with heroin, fentanyl, and other drugs.
4 people shot and killed, including a former Loyola basketball player, Gerald Brown.
Known for his sense of humor and love for basketball, 34-year-old former Loyola basketball player Gerald Brown was shot and killed Friday night on the 3700 block of West Forest Park Avenue. The former player led an undefeated team at Frederick Douglass High School and played basketball at Providence and Loyola University, Maryland.
Down the Brooklyn try the last down. Bitch, I turned the sofa up, I named that bitch the new. Yeah, I got shot, now I came back. I want answers, I got clues. I spent the block, I'm looking for you. I'm like, where you at? You say you taking all these trips. I'm like, where you at? Where you at, little nigga? I'm like, where you at? Where you at, little nigga? I'm like, where you at? Through the storm. God save my life, cause I'm a real nigga. Damn right. God damn, it feels good to be real. Since I've been riding around looking for niggas, they hard to find. Looking for me, boy, you lying. Looking for me, boy, you lying. All this pressure applied. Higher shooters, they die. They might drop a dime. You know I ain't lying.
Yo, what it is, people, we is back. Another day on Keep It G News. And there y'all in Baltimore City, y'all. Talk about, I gotta give y'all an update on the story I covered not too long ago, maybe 3 months ago. And it's about a rap out of my city by the name of Lorax. Now, Lorax is one of them guys where I speak about Baltimore hip-hop, and I tell you, it was a lot of guys that came in all at once. Lorax was one of them. And he made his mark in the city. But you know how this go when you're dealing with local hip-hop. And a lot of these guys, they fund their own career. So when you funding your own career, because y'all know how the rap game is, you got to have the image. And what comes with the image is money, you know, change, jewelry. You understand? So a lot of these guys, or a lot of people in general, this is all across the United States, they only know one way to make that image come to light. A lot of them resort to drugs. Now, I'm not saying this is what Lorax did. This is what they're saying. You understand? So, when I covered that story, I told y'all that Lorax was facing 40 years in prison. And it was a lot mixed into this indictment. You know, it was a murder involved that he wasn't actually charged with, but you're going to find out in this article I'm ready to read for y'all that murder is a part of the overt acts. I think I covered that in the last video. And I also talked about in the last video how it was a faulty warrant. A faulty warrant started this whole investigation, so Lorax still got some wiggle room with this case, even though he ultimately pled guilty and was sentenced today. But I want y'all to listen to this interaction that he had with the judge, you know, because I don't know if people familiar about sentencing and how that process go. Normally after you sentence, the judge asks you, do you want to say anything? A lot of people decline, but in this situation, Lorax decided to respond. You know, he said he wanted to get things off his chest, and the judge gave him the opportunity to do so. But I want y'all to listen to not only what how much time Lil X caught, but I want y'all to listen to and pay attention to this interaction that Lil X had with this judge. Baltimore rapper Lil X was sentenced Tuesday to 15 years in prison for overseeing a gang that distributed fentanyl throughout southwest Baltimore. Circuit Judge Lawrence R. Daniels imposed a total sentence of 40 years incarceration, but suspended the majority of the time behind bars for the rapper, whose legal name is Xavier Johnson. He's going to have 25 years hanging over his head, Daniels said of Johnson's eventual release. I got to tell you, Mr. Johnson, if you so much as spit on the sidewalk, I'll give you all of it. The judge's comments punctuated a tense sentencing hearing for Johnson, 33, who pleaded guilty in September to 1 count of organizing, supervising, and financing a gang and 2 counts of being in possession of large quantities of a mixture of drugs containing fentanyl. His plea agreement gave room for the attorney to argue for a sentence of 40 years in prison, with all but a range of 15 to 25 years suspended. The first 10 years without the possibility of parole, because the charge of possession of a large quantity of drugs carries a mandatory minimum punishment of 5 years behind bars without the chance of release. Defense attorney John Cox asked Daniels to sentence his client to 15 years in prison, while the prosecutor with the Maryland Office of Attorney General argued for 25 years of incarceration. City Sheriff deputies' discovery of fentanyl while serving an eviction spawned a year-long investigation that yielded indictments of Johnson and 18 others in 2020. Investigators from the Drug Enforcement Administration and the Maryland State Police found Johnson crew maintained several stash houses to store drugs and guns, according to the indictment. Among those was a downtown apartment rented by Gerald Green, the former Baltimore basketball star who led Frederick Douglass High School to an undefeated season. Investigators raided the apartment on May 20th, 2019, finding 2 kilograms of fentanyl, a handgun, and drug packaging material. Brown was shot to death June 7th that year, shortly after he was heard saying that he was not going to go down for the items recovered in the search, the indictment says. Without providing more details, while neither Johnson or any other members of the crew faced murder charges, their indictment under the state gang statute listed Brown's killing as one of the gang's overt acts. Assistant Attorney General Zachary Norfolk did not mention the homicide of Johnson's sentencing, but said Johnson was prepared to carry out violence, highlighting several photos and videos depicting him carrying guns. Along with the wiretap of Johnson and others' phones and social media accounts, investigators installed a covert video camera in a car associated with a crew member. That camera captured the moment Johnson and his lieutenants arrived at a stash house that investigators recently raided. The footage played at the sentencing showed one crew member leave the car and return shortly thereafter. After he told Johnson the door appeared to have been ripped off its hinges, Johnson could be seen handing the crew member a pistol. Norfolk cited excerpts from Johnson's prolific social media presence to suggest a concerning lack of remorse and accountability. Several of the posts included a photo of Johnson flaunting large sums of cash. Others included messages, written or rhymed aloud, that Norfolk said romanticized life as a gang leader. Beat a body and get a rollie, and a golden child. Johnson captured one picture of a bedazzled Rolex, a gold handgun, and a chain with his nickname, South Baltimore Godfather, partially spelled out. Norfolk said Johnson continued such posts after being indicted and pleading guilty. The very morning of his sentencing hearing, Johnson wrote in an Instagram post, "I'm coming out the same way I went in. See y'all later." Cox downplayed the social media post. There's a difference between the actions he did and the persona that he posts, because that's very common in the rap world, Cox said. Daniels interjected, scolding Johnson for such posts given his large following. It was one of the several times that Judge interrupted to challenge statements by attorneys, or Johnson himself. When Cox said his client had become more involved in his children's lives and volunteered for various organizations, mostly youth sports programs, Daniels suggested Johnson's altruism was intended to make himself seem more sympathetic at sentencing. He made a mistake and he's paying for it. I believe he has turned that chapter, Cox said. All but 3 members of Johnson's crew pleaded guilty, with the convictions ranging from conspiracy to distribute drugs to participate in a criminal gang to, in one case, supervising the gang. 2 of the alleged members have cases pending, with a 3rd died awaiting trial. Johnson received the longest prison sentence of any crew members. Cox said all of the other sentences in the case, even those with more significant criminal records, already have been released from prison. He urged Daniels to impose a sentence proportional to the others in the case. When he finished, Cox advised Johnson of his right to have the last word to the sentencing judge. Johnson chose to speak. Through the years, Johnson began, I have done some bad stuff. Daniels interjected, taking objection to his use of the description of his actions. You don't know how many people overdosed and died on your fentanyl, Davis said. When Johnson responded by saying he wasn't aware at the time of the dangers of the drugs he sold, Daniels challenged him with his voice raising to shoot. The judge pointed out to photos and evidence showing members of Johnson's crew wearing gas masks while mixing drugs. Johnson said he wanted to get involved in substance abuse education. That rings hollow here today for a guy that was selling poison to the community to make money, Daniels said. At one point, Daniels instructed Johnson to face the group of supporters who crowded the courtroom and promised that he would never commit a crime again. With tears streaming down his cheek, Johnson addressed his mother. I promise you, he said, that when I come out, I'm going to make a difference. I hate to see this, man. I really do. And this is part of the reason why our communities are the way they are. Now, I know people feel a way about drugs, but I'm of the mind frame that that's the American way. This country was built on drugs, drug selling. You know, you can debate it if you want, but the proof is in the pudding. And I hate to see that when guys is products of their environment.
Man, look, man, check one, check motherfucker two, man. Godfather the motherfucker self. You already know how we loaded up, you know what I mean? We loaded up, ready to go holler at the po homes, you know what I mean? We load this motherfucker up. You know how the fuck we do.
Man, get back. Real niggas do real things, man.
Yeah, pop a couple bottles, you heard me? We in a bottle war around this bitch, you heard me? Know what I mean? That's how we do. We loaded pizzas, chicken, sodas, water, everything. We loaded, you know what I mean? Po homes, they goods. You know what I mean? Dinner on the Godfather. You know what I mean? Hey, we in trap. You know my pot, dude. Whatever you pull out, you can have, bro. Just pull everything out. I ain't even gonna look. Pull it out. You got one bell? 10. You can have that. I'm feeling good today, man. Go in my pocket. Go in my pocket. Go in my pocket. Pull out one bill, you can have it. Just one bill. You pull out more than one bill, I'm gonna smack the fuck out you. You can have it. Go ahead. Go in my pocket. Pull out one bill, you can have it. Just one bill. One bill, you can have it. One bill, you can have it. It's one bill, boy. Just go ahead. This. You feeling good? We get back to the community. They just go out pocket. Pull out one bill. Pull out more than one bill. I'm slap. 10. You want to see? Oh, excuse me. All right. One bill. You feeling good in the community? You want one too? You want to go there? Shit, let me get good. One bill. You can't go. You cheated. You look. You look. It might be 100. It might be 100. Go ahead. One bill. One bill. One bill. Already. That's it. That's it.
They said it's all 10s in there, though.
They said it's all 10s in there.
No, it ain't.
Alright, that's that, Alright, that's that, Ain't no ones in this bitch either, so I want to bluff it. I want to bluff it.
At the end of the day, we all are, no matter what environment you're from. You know, you're going to pick up some things from that environment that you're going to hold with you through your life. Now, it's up to you to break it. A lot of people can't, and I understand it because that is not an easy chain to break. But Lil X is a product of his environment. South Baltimore, for people that's from the city, you know, people that know about Baltimore history, you know that is built in the fabric of society in Baltimore. Drugs. And it been that way before I was born. It's probably going to be back that way after I die if we don't figure out a way to fix it. If they want a way to fix it. Because I'm of the mind frame that Baltimore is exactly how they want Baltimore to be. Like, this is not one of them cities that crime rose in the last 10 years or 15 years. Baltimore was this way since I was born and before me. And Lil X grasped to that, you know. He went with what he know. And what he knew was the drug game. Like most of us do, coming from Baltimore. We know the drug game, but this is what happens on the reverse end, you know, when the lights is up. You know, and it's time to sit down. So Lil X reached out to me earlier this day. You know, he told me he was going to court. He told me I should come down there, but I wasn't in a position to be able to get down there at that time, so I couldn't come. And I was asking him, like, yo, is you going to cop out today or what's going on? And he told me he was taking this plea, which ultimately was 40 years. Now, he only got 15 years jail time, prison time. And he still got the option to appeal this sentence. It's a special condition. If you want to know more about it, go back to the last video I did on. He got a special condition with his sentences with his sentencing that allows him to appeal this because of that faulty warrant. But Lil X, in that 40-year sentence, it's a hefty one. But what I can respect out of Lil X is he took it on the chin. Even though you hear him crying in court, from what I understand, Lil X is a crier. He cries a lot. You know, for the people that know him, you know what I'm saying is 100. But this is why I don't like when the judge asks you, do you want to speak? And then you speak and then they come down on you. That's why when y'all wonder when people was suspects in the case, or they sitting back and they sitting through this victim impact statements and they don't make, you know, no facial expression. They sit there blank. When the judge asks them, do you want to say anything? They don't say anything because a lot of times this is what happens. And it never really helps you, you know. But at the same time, it's also good to get it off your chest. Now, I have sat through a victim impact statement before, you know, when I had a chance to talk to the victim family and I had to listen, you know. And most times, you're not going to show no weakness. You're not going to show no remorse because you know how that can come off, and you know at the end of the day, regardless of how you feel inside, you know that's not going to have any burns on this sentence that the judge is going to hand down to you. You understand? But Lil X took it on the chin, and I can respect that, y'all. But this, like I said, is the dark side of the streets. The time when it's time to sit, you know. And when this time comes, because it always comes, 99% of the time, it's only a very small percentage of people that's going to be on the streets and never get in no trouble. Now, Lil X done been shot. From my knowledge, he done been kidnapped. And now he's going to prison for a long time. 15 years at 33 years old is a very long time, but it's a state bit. But for what I understand, the first 10 is without any parole. So he's going to do 10 years straight before he even get recognized for parole. And then you got to factor in the trouble that he may or may not get while he's incarcerated. You know, everybody don't come home once they go in. People do lose their life in there, but I think that Lil X is going to be fine. Lil X know a lot of people. He's respected. He don't seem like to me that he's going to go in there and cause no any, you know what I mean? He ain't going for anything. And he going to stand his ground, you know. Hopefully he can get back up on this appeal because what they did was wrong. The sheriff lied on the warrant and it started this whole investigation that ended up with 18 people being arrested and indicted, you know. Rest in peace to G Songs. You gotta throw that in there, man, because he lost his life. He's not charged with this situation, but y'all heard in this video, that article I read, that is one of the overt acts, that G Songs was murdered somehow throughout this whole ordeal, because the stash house that was raided was the house that belonged to G Songs. Now, Lil X said that the newspapers is reporting false information. I wish I could be there to hear everything that went on, you know, so I can give y'all a detailed analysis on everything that happened, you know, from a real point of view, not no biased opinion. Because at the end of the day, I'm not biased. Not when it comes down to my people, not when it comes down to Baltimore in particular. But this is what happens, and it always happens. Nobody gets away. 15 years is a long time to catch at 33 years old. Now, do I think he made out on a street level as a street guy looking at it? Hell yeah, because it was a murder involved. Whenever it's a murder involved, you catch anything under 20 years, you won. And then we know about the situation that Lil X had with his lawyer. You know, he had Kenneth Ravenel at first, but Kenneth Ravenel, and I might need to do a video on that. Kenneth Ravenel was arrested and indicted himself. I think he got 4 or 5 years in prison. Maybe got 8. I'm not sure. But y'all can look it up. But that was his lawyer, and that was one of the reasons that held the case up so long. And Lil X, he had a long time to wait and sit while his lawyers figure this out. And this is the result of it. Well, I know how y'all feel about this in the comments, man. How y'all think Lil X going to be in there? Do y'all think he going to come back on appeal? I think he got a very good chance because he shouldn't even be arrested if the warrant wasn't right. Like, how is it that the warrant is not right, but this man still sentenced to 15 years in prison? Don't make sense to me. And appeals is not even guaranteed. But in his situation, normally when you plead guilty, you can't even get an appeal. But since this warrant was so fabricated, they had to give him some type of rhythm, you know. But we'll see how it all play out. This is another day on Keep It G News. I want to say salute to Lil X, man. You know, he reached out to me, like I said, before he turned this out, man. I told him, man, come out better. You know, that's the only thing you can expect or tell a person that's going to do that much time. Come out better. Learn something, you know. And I didn't like the fact how the judge tried to diminish the fact that he was doing youth programs and, you know, reaching out to the younger generation. He diminished it. He said he was only doing it because of court. And even if that's the case, how many other times have we seen that done, and that plays a role in sentencing? But in his situation, judge wasn't trying to hear none of that. Even brought up the fact that drugs that people brought on their own, you know, drugs that we didn't package and deliver to the United States, somehow ended up in his hands, and people may or may have not lost their life behind that. But at the end of the day, everybody making decisions. And how do you hold the user more accountable than you hold the seller? Don't really make sense to me. That's why I don't really understand, and I never will understand this war on drugs, because it's a war on black people and they attack us aggressively. But the addicts, a lot of time Caucasian, you know, we got a problem in our community too, but when it's the Caucasian addicts, they don't treat them the same. They don't send them to jail. They send them to treatment. And I told y'all in the other video, selling drugs is just as addictive as buying drugs. There's no difference. The user is addicted to the feel. The seller is addicted to the money. It's all an addiction. But let me know how y'all feel about this in the comments. Another day, Keep It G News.
Nigga can't do what I do, y'all niggas can't copy me. Let's keep shit G. Let's keep shit G. Let's keep the shit G. Let's keep shit G. Let's keep shit G.